Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Duval Dive. Of course, I am Kyle Nass, a student of the game.
And I'm Travis Holmes with BigCatCountry.com.
And you're listening to this thing on the Believe Podcast Network. Travis, we made it through your portion of the House of Stone and Light of football. That is the defense. And now we're headed over to my side of the ball for offensive evaluation. And listen, let's just get straight right into it. Now, keep in mind, folks, this is the part where I'm going to get Travis a hard time for putting this board together because out of the gate, he has us evaluating the bleeding quarterback. Like and subscribe and do all the things, by the way. I'm mentioning that here. But yes, right out of the gate, he has us talking about the quarterback amongst all the various putting him in FC. Now you're just trying to get the comments going. But yeah, Trevor Lawrence, listen, everybody's had their 2 cents. We had a lengthy conversation with our friend Jordan DeLugo. Yeah, thank you, Generation Jag, talking about Trevor Lawrence and the narrative around him and how he's just as good a quarterback as CJ Stroud, which, boy, what a difference a year's makes.
Yes.
Shouts to you for recognizing that CJ Stroud would regress, but damn, I don't think anybody expected that. But yeah, Trevor Lawrence, man, your thoughts in the 2025 season?
I mean, despite everything that he had to overcome as far as his offseason surgery was concerned, despite the fact that early on he couldn't throw, like if you've heard all the offseason interviews with Liam Coen and just talking about the process, the fact that, Trevor was working so hard and flipping his shotgun stance, opposite foot forward, where to a point where he couldn't even complete the throws and just trying to work through what he could work through, learning the offense, learning the shifts, learning the audibles, the cans, and all of that stuff at the line of scrimmage, and then to see the on-field production later in the season from Lawrence and the growth and the maturation, all of that, it's an A, man. Yeah, I ain't trying to bury the lead. Like, I'm just gonna keep it a buck. It's an A. It's an A for the process. It's an A for the development that we've seen on field after having some early season questions, and it lands at an A because we simply hadn't seen him play as well as he played late in this year, despite limitations at the wide receiver's position and some of those inconsistencies and just finding the zone and being on the same page. Like, it's an A for me.
And listen, for clarity, this isn't any opportunity to say that Trevor Lawrence was a bad quarterback. If anything else, people are starting to reevaluate themselves that, hey, maybe after all this time, coaching from what might literally be the worst NFL coaching performance of all time in Urban Meyer, right? Being mired in Urban's coaching, as I often put it, right? Having to deal with Doug Peterson, who the game had passed him by, had completely forgotten that he didn't have 3 Hall of Fame caliber offensive linemen on his roster here in Jacksonville. All those were brought to bear. However, there's a very interesting thing you pointed out in our defensive edition of the grades, which, by the way, if you haven't checked it out, please do so. Some excellent conversations in there over and above the defensive roster. But you, the critical grader Travis D. Holmes, was shocked the amount of high grades we handed out.
Yeah, man.
And those high grades hit a lot of the struggle that Trevor Lawrence had. Now, there are points to be made, okay? There was a lot of drops. Drop. Everybody. It's a whole Lil Jon song. I get it. And then Jacoby Myers came in and things started to fix up. And listen, the receivers will be a conversation we have later here in this direct episode. A is too high. There were just too many mistakes made, in my opinion, too many of those, good God, what are you doing moments. And there's a lot of eating Trevor did against weak defenses, in my opinion.
Also fair.
So, I'm not also going to slam him for struggling against the Seahawks and Rams because, damn it, there's a reason they're doing battle to make it to the Super Bowl this coming weekend. And I could make the argument that the NFL should just suspend the AFC from competition with Jarrett Stidham starting for the Broncos and these sorry overrated Patriots that are the JMU of the NFL playoffs. I said what I said. Punchline's this. Actually, technically speaking, that's probably the Texans at this point, but I still said what I said. Punchline's this. There are just too many times, in my opinion, where you had the lemon booty. Now, later in the season, he improves. You can talk me to a B minus for that improvement factor. Dealing with the listen, clearly the comeback player of the year. He won't get it because, well, in the words of Lee and Coen, and the Jacksonville Jaguars, respect ain't coming. But I can't quite give him an A yet.
All right. I mean, so you're landing at a C.
I'm landing at a B.
You're landing at a B, and I'm landing at an A. And I'm okay with acknowledging I'm meeting you with the boneheadedness of some of those early season plays, while also still landing at a spot where I say it feels very clear that a lot of those boneheaded plays in the middle of the field, specifically, that resulted in interceptions, were the fault of his receivers, though.
Boy, howdy, that's a thing.
Yeah, I mean, that feels very clear to me at this current moment in time where we're having this conversation. And because of that, then I feel like I can't slam the table and say, well, nah, I'm going to downgrade him for some of those early season interceptions, when I can clearly say, well, that felt like a lot of BTJ. It just felt like the less you threw the BTJ, the more better things happened. And
right. And listen, the first 4 games, BTJ was a thing. You're not wrong.
Just 4?
The first 4, I think after the first 4 games is when he started to turn it around. There were some other moments beyond that where he had a moment where he shouldn't. I agree. But come on, man. How many times is the evaluation of interception worthy play a conversation with Trevor Lawrence? And is it less this season than seasons past? Absolutely. I don't know, though, if that's because the New York Jets, for example, were on the schedule, or if it was Trevor and Liam Coen finding their synchronization. I will grant you.
That's fair, because the interceptions did still increase against Buffalo. Then that's all right. I'll meet you. I'll meet you at the B plus.
You're just that surprised. I was the more difficult grader this time. I think that's what it is.
It was a fair argument when you're talking when you try to add the additional when you grade on the curve based on the schedule, based on the opponents. It becomes a different conversation, and I actually don't disagree with that thought process also.
But clearly, comeback player of the year. I don't think if he doesn't get selected, I will have that conversation when the real awards are released here on the Duval Dive.
O-line in your neck of the woods, sir. Your neck of the woods.
You came out here making that. You were going to make that the first position, and then the second. Trevor, I'm going to start with you. What you got?
Man, all right. O-line is difficult because we're still grading the performance. We're grading the roster. Kind of trying to see where we think the Jaguars are, so we can figure out where the Jaguars are going to go in the coming weeks and the coming months. On this roster. All right, so you got Robert Hines. He's obviously done well enough to not even be a question on this roster. Hell, he's the captain.
To say that, Travis?
Not at all. Not at all. I'm just trying to think about the guys who are easily and obviously right. Like that's Robert Hines. That's Ezra Cleveland. That's Anton Harrison. For the most part, we're good there. I mean, you can even say Cole Van Lannon, and I think Cole Van Lannon is probably closer to the money says he's a lock, even though I still think you could improve on that position.
That's a pretty quick christening. I agree with you. Yes.
Yeah. So then you're really just talking about the right guard. So overall, I mean, the Patrick McCarry signing, and whether or not the depth behind him is going to be matured or developed in Wyatt Milam and Jonah Monheim or whoever ends up filling that role to be the next guy down the line, or maybe they're not on the roster. So, but overall, the performance that they've done was up and down in the run game. And honestly, throughout the season, it was up and down in the passing game, but it was good enough to kind of be winning football while also still leave you with questions at the end of the season. I'm just being real about it.
This is a hard one, man.
Due to the inconsistency, it's going to suck to have to give them a C minus, but that's where I'm landing. C minus, C range is probably your best case scenario because it was never consistent. If they would have kept the second half of the season being consistent in the run game, there was no world where it wasn't a B plus, B like A minus range, but they didn't. And then when they weren't struggling in one area of the field, like pass, they were struggling in the run, or they weren't struggling in the run, they were struggling in the pass. They were never good in both. I gotta get. I'm C minus.
This is why your evaluation is good, except you're missing one key word.
Okay.
What's the term that I pounded the table for constantly throughout the season when it came to this group?
Health.
Penalties! There's too many penalties! That is the lineman edition of dropping passes, is pre-snap penalties. And especially when you got dudes lined up in an overshifted line at tight end, you're preparing for the easiest block one could possibly make, and you jump your dumbass offsides, not just once, but twice in a football game. Oh, my God. As you see, it hurt my soul deeply, Travis. Penalties are why this group gets to see.
I see. This is how you don't win.
Yes.
Yeah.
What are we doing here? Or in the words of Lee and Coen, are you beep drunk?
Yeah, the penalties are rough. I mean, but they weren't consistent throughout the whole season. Like they did get better once they got the wristband added to Trevor Lawrence. Exactly. They did get better, once they stopped taking out a lot more of the motions and the jet motions at the snap and things of that nature out of the playbook. Mm-hmm. They did improve upon it. But they didn't improve on it necessarily because they just kept doing the same things and got better. They improved upon it because they just stopped doing the things where they struggled doing. So I mean,
both can be true, right? And then in the Jags' defense, in the final play in their final game in the playoff game, they only had 2 penalties. Things moved in the right direction. If you want to talk me into a C+, that's fine. Okay,
but both penalties on the same person.
Yeah, right. But that being said, I still can't put them beyond the C tier at this time.
That's fine. We're still in agreement. Whether I don't need to talk you up and down in the C range. We're both landing at C's.
Yeah, but I wanted to give wiggle room to the Duval divers out there in case they felt ways about it. So bringing us next on the docket, tight end. I'm going to be incredibly unpopular, Travis, but I'm going to let you start first here on this one before I break people's hearts.
The Britton Stranges. This is interesting because, obviously you have Britton Strange leading the group. That's your guy after not knowing how this was going to go, getting rid of Evan Ingram heading into the offseason, coming out of the offseason.
Now let's give you a little bit more credit than that. You thought he would break out. You gave him that possibility. You told the Duval divers he was going to do things. Now let's not act like you weren't positive on Britton Strange. We both on this show told Ben Troop on how he was the answer instead of Evan Ingram.
Sure.
So
he definitely didn't get the targets that I thought he was going to be going to get. And I say that still as the guy who said he wasn't going to be like a top fantasy guy because they weren't going to give him the targets. And even saying that, he still didn't get the targets.
I think he realistically
deserved.
Wow.
All right, let me be real. Britton Strange in another offense, same skill set, exactly. Doing nothing different than what he's doing, just being himself in a different NFL offense like that actually highlights the tight end, like I don't know, the Detroit Lions or something like that. Like
playing for a Harbaugh.
Maybe, something like that would probably be in the Pro Bowl right now. Like I truly believe he's that talent on what he's doing on the field. And every time Trevor Lawrence targeted him heavily, I don't know what I'd be willing to bet. I'm not even looking at the stats. I'd be willing to bet that Britton Strange probably caught 90% of the targets that actually were catchable to him this year. But there were very many games where he caught all of his passes, or he might have had like one incompletion. And I was just like, just throw him the ball more often.
Just say he did it better than the receivers. Just say he did it better than the receivers.
His skill set was so much better than anyone else catching the ball, other than maybe Jacoby Myers, and that might even be arguable. It was to that level. So I mean, I'm at an A when you add his dominant run blocking and all of that. For Britton Strange is an A. If you're talking about the depth of the overall room, when you're adding in, Johnny Munt, you're adding in Quentin Morris and how he played later in the season in the blocking and the depth and all of that, then you're probably a good B+ at worst. And that's probably where I am, only because I think his skill set is good enough. They just didn't use him in I think he could have helped the team a lot more of just being used, and that's no fault of his own.
I think there's a reason he was used less, and I think it's because he was playing through injury throughout the season. I feel like with Brenton Strange off the field, there was a significant drop with tight ends as a weapon, which I feel like impacted the offense to an extent. It could have been something that was part of the reason why they moved off of the screen. There's a lot of things I think that contributed to that as well. Not having your tight end there at the second level to clear dudes out for the big play is a huge factor, in my opinion. And just so when Brenton Strange went down, Johnny Munt, Hunter Long are fine blockers, but they were not doing the job as a weapon. And in this offense, to do both, you have to do both to be relevant, right? And Morris came on too, like you mentioned later in the year. I'm not taking from that. It's hard I can't give them an A. Brenton Strange gets an A. Who we playing? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There's a reason why he was on the clips for the intro to this podcast. Okay. Can you talk me into a B-? I don't know that I can do it.
A B-? I don't think it's a B- group. Like, I just don't see it, honestly. Like, I thought Quentin Morris played above what I thought he was going. Like, I'm not saying he was dominant.
Too, yeah? Or
no, I'm saying it's a B. No,
okay, so you think it's a B?
I'm truly at the B. Yeah.
Okay, so you're talking me into a B- because I want to put him at C+. I just don't feel like, as an entire season goes, they were enough to be that constant weapon that they can be when healthy. It just if
Brenton Strange doesn't get hurt and it's a position group that they didn't run a lot of 3 tight end sets as far as that piece is concerned, I don't think this is arguable. He's the main guy and he's getting those snaps and the actual targets. Then I think this would easily be an A. I think it just in the games that he played, if Brenton Strange would have got more targets, this probably would have been an A because he would have carried the group.
Yeah, so you're pulling me up to a B- and I'll allow it. I'll allow it.
All right. I'll allow it. All right.
Cool. Running backs. I think this is the most fascinating conversation. And I'm going to lead this one off because I'm pretty sure you're going to drag me down. Let's actually analyze what's going on here, right? Travis Etienne, who was supposed to be 1 foot out the door. Bashaw Tutin, who's what? A third round, 5th round pick? I forget. 4th round?
Oh, Bashaw?
Yeah,
fourth round.
4th round. Yeah, I had a brain cloud right then, and then my guy Hines-Allen, a 7th round pick, knocking dudes over. Oh my God! And oh, by the way, when you ask to pass him the ball and carry the ball, he does an amazing thing. However, I don't know. Are we lumping in special teams play with this evaluation? We did that in the previous episode, so I don't know that that's allowed. But he did put a dude on one knee and basically produce extra pass protection. That's also, by the way, I didn't mention it. Part of the reason why the O-line gets a C and not a B is how much of it was pass protection from the running backs in a way we haven't seen the past 2 seasons, but I digress. That's going to lift the running backs up as well. Did the running backs run the ball prolifically? Not necessarily. Did they do so because the O-line was the problem? Yes, that's why the O-line got a C. How useful they became in the pass game when you have somebody other than Dougie P / Press Taylor calling the goddamn offense. Look what they can do. The system, in my opinion, makes this group a B.
So you give the running back group a B.
I do.
And that's hard. I mean, because again, if you're looking at the pass protection aspect, like you already just outlined, I mean, Hines-Allen, amazing. I mean, we probably.
I feel like all 3 backs did better than I would have thought.
Fair. I mean, Travis Etienne's pass protection has improved significantly from what we saw under the Doug Peterson, era. So, like, I'm with you there. All of them were good in pass protection and also taking the ball out of the backfield, catching it when they got those opportunities. Maybe they should have gotten those opportunities a little bit more for my taste. Could have been good. But overall, sure. Yeah. But overall, like I'm with you. Like the pass protection, especially led by Hines-Allen, let me say it in that way.
Of course,
was top notch. Was absolutely great. So like that's an A+ effort there. by itself. But then you get into the run game, I'm just like, dang it, they just need more broken tackles. Like, I need to see more broken tackles from the guys that's running the ball primarily. Like, that's to say, Travis Etienne is getting hit often around the line of scrimmage. That's hurting them after those first like 7 games of the season.
I'm about to say, not like he used to, but
right. So that is an offensive line thing, but also I would just love to see more broken tackles. And that's the same argument or the same issue with Bashaw Tootin. He's always one broken tackle from breaking a 50-yard run. And it happened like so many times throughout the season where it's just like, I just needed to see more. And because that's the same argument folks are making right now, saying, hey, are you ready to move on from our Jaguar fans ready to move on from Travis Etienne? And everybody's like, and that reason for that is because they haven't seen enough from Bashaw Tootin to truly make them comfortable in saying that, because it's always just almost on every run. It's almost.
That's a good point. Travis Etienne hasn't done enough to keep him, nor has Bashaw Tootin done enough to replace him. I see where you're going.
So, and that's where this issue lies. So a B is very reasonable. I mean, I can't say an A+ because it's not like they're just taking it on their shoulders and doing it all by themselves. This isn't one of those Derrick Henry, whatever Jonathan Taylor situations where I'm just it's a bad line and I'm taking them on my. No, their offensive line is about average. Running backs playing about average, and you want to see one of those guys just do more than what's being. I'm picking up more than what's being blocked, if that makes sense. So I'm with you on the B.
Okay, there you go. And yeah, like I mentioned, part of it for me to pick it a B is that production in the pass game as well. I mean, it's a complete group. I'll give it that much credit too. I don't know that it's complete, maybe not elite. How's that for poetry? So
and it's funny because this grading right now, as it currently stands, is looking a lot like very similar to our defensive grades in the way that we were grading them on the Wednesday's pod. I thought that was interesting because this was just for those who haven't watched the podcast yet. It was rewind that thing and listen to it. Like, yeah, there were no D's and no F's given on the defensive side of the ball, which was crazy. But Kyle and I talked about it after the pod and it was like, dude, there were no F's and no D's, but that's also a tip of the cap to the coaching staff, a tip of the cap to the GM, because they weren't allowing this thing to be bad enough for long enough to get to a D or an F.
Right.
If they were bad, they were out of the paint. Like, it was just that easy. It's not like the last half.
Talking about Tyson Campbell that you bring that up, right? Like, if they stayed with Campbell, they could have had some F's for the defensive. Yeah.
Right. Like, if the guy was struggling for that long, like even Dewey for that matter, like that's the only reason Antonio Johnson steps up is because he's given more snaps because, hey man, this thing ain't working. And also, the Eric Murray injury changed that too. I forgot about that.
There's that. Yeah. But
nevertheless, like the staff was good. They were they saw opportunities existing and they were giving guys chance. Mason Smith is another situation where if they allow him to keep playing, eventually it's going to be a D or an F for the roster because we don't see anyone else. They're just like, no, that's fine. He's not working. You're out. Next guy in. Parker Washington. Oh, Diami's not working. Parker, more snaps. And that's actually a good indicator of the coaching. And maybe we'll get into that in a second. But yeah, so that was the reason that we weren't seeing a lot of D's and F's.
You did mention self-scouting. We'll talk about that again soon enough. Next on the list. Oh boy. Why
Brian Thomas Juniors? Yes,
receivers. No, don't call.
Maybe I said the Parker Washingtons,
or maybe the Jacoby Myers is. Hey, good gravy. Wide receivers. What a conversation. You're gonna make me start. Okay.
You want me to go? I don't care.
Yeah. You know what? Go ahead, please.
All right, so we got no 1,000-yard receivers, and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
And I don't think that's performance either, right? I think that's injuries. I think that's Trevor Lawrence learning to distribute the ball better, perhaps. Why Trevor got a B instead of lower, perhaps, maybe.
That's Brian Thomas Jr. not being who they thought they were getting in Brian Thomas Jr. Let's just start there.
Perfectly inadequate, inadequate point of view as well, but please continue.
I mean, there's no world where they thought when Liam Coen takes this job and says in public that Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be the engine of this offense. There's no world where he thought Brian Thomas Jr. was going to play the majority of games, 14 games, and get 707 yards in the season.
Mm.
That wasn't in the plans. There's no world where that's in the plans, if that makes sense. So if he's if he's averaging, what is that, 50 yards a game, you probably if you tell Jacksonville Jaguars fans that entering this 2025 season, Brian Thomas Jr. is going to play 14 games and he's going to average 50 yards a game, you're like, so we won 5 games? That's probably the response. Because
no, your response would did BTJ get hurt? Like,
wait, no, 14 games. I'm saying, like, it's still that's probably your assumption. So the fact that they got the production out of this group with the other guys to still raise the overall floor of this offense. Parker Washington, nearly 850 yards. Obviously using Brenton Strange a little bit more in the games that he was able to play, the 12 games that he did play, trading for Jacoby Myers, getting Travis Hunter up and running around the bye week before he gets hurt. Overall, it was a really dang rocky first half of that season. I mean, just terribly rocky first 7 games before that bye week. And then they figured it out in the second half of the season. But at one point early on, I mean, you got Austin Trammell playing significant snaps. You got Tim Patrick, who you traded for, playing significant snaps. You got De'Ami Brown playing significant snaps before they finally just healthy scratched this dude for much of the second half of the season. Painting that whole picture, man. Jeez, that's rough. Like, I'm in the D+ range. Like, and I don't think that's a hot take. I'm just being honest with you. It was terrible while they were going through that coaching and learning session, because early, like I said, some of those issues early on about the interceptions and the tip balls and all this stuff, I put on the plate of the receivers more than I actually put on the plate of the quarterback. And that's weird.
It was those receivers that led the NFL in drops by
also resulting in a lot of the interceptions in the middle of the field.
Well, perhaps, and taking nothing from that for clarity, but the number of significant third down drops that took place, the number of touchdown drops. It wasn't Calvin Ridley bad, but it was bad. Too soon to make the Calvin Ridley reference? Anyways.
Not at all.
But if you said to me, what's the team that needs to improve the most right now, I would agree with you that it's the wide receivers. Because I already thought the O-line was a 2-year project, and they overachieved with the amount of clean sheets that Trevor got this year. The running back core is clearly the best group on offense. I don't think there's a debate about that, and the tight ends aren't deep. It's Brenton Strange that makes them have a B, and I even said a B-. I wanted to give him a C. So you know what, Travis? I will join you in handing out the first D for the wide receivers. I just don't think they're enough. Now, granted, how much of it was limited play and opportunity from Travis Hunter? Probably a significant amount. How much of it was other injuries a factor? Probably a significant amount. But to your point, a clear, healthy scratch of a De'Ami Brown, which was supposed to be a huge acquisition. BTJ not being right for the amount of games that he was. This group leading the league in interception, or check that, or maybe interceptions. I don't know, but I actually meant drops.
And the penalties.
And the penalties. Thank you. You remembered this time. Absolutely the penalties. The reason why Trevor has a B and not lower is because I think he lifted this receiver group up to where they were, rather than vice versa. I mean, why else were?
But that's the other weird part about it. You say, because it could be the limitations of Travis Hunter is obviously pulling down this group. But we only saw one big game from Travis Hunter also. Because I know there's someone in the comments who's going to say, hey, man, no, you can't view this. You can't look at this receiver core and tell me this is a D when you got Travis Hunter sitting there and they were getting ready to use him in a material way following that week 8 bye week. And I will say to you, you're right. But also, we saw one game in a blowout loss for the Jaguars where Travis Hunter had played like we thought he was going to be playing.
He got in his first 100-yard game. And I think the other thing you got to point about Travis Hunter, though, Travis, is even before they got to that point, his ability to make a huge play may not have had a butt ton of yards on the stat sheet, but he won that 49er game with the way he flipped the field with that one catch. So,
Yeah, he was absolutely explosive, especially if they were to use him in that Brian Thomas Jr. role. You're having a totally different conversation.
That's a great point.
And that's the promise. But we're not grading 2026 and the promise of 2026. We're grading
We're evaluating
2025 and what it is.
Yeah.
Yes. So that from that perspective, we hope Travis Hunter now has the whole offseason to learn to truly be in the playbook, have a full year already, well, half of the year already being infused in the playbook. And with that, you should see a better Travis Hunter on offense moving forward in 2026. But as far as 2025 is concerned and what this is and what we've seen, nah, man, this is a D. Like your best case scenario is probably a C minus, and I think that's being very generous. So yeah, they did it with Elmer's glue and duct tape, and I would say offensively, this felt like exactly the prime area.
I feel like Trevor did this with Elmer's glue, duct tape, and defenses, desperate to take away the run, giving Trevor the opportunity to do so.
You say Trevor, I say Liam. Let's talk about him.
I mean, yeah, that's a great point. It is time to talk about Liam Coen. After all, Mr. Duval himself has to be in the conversation. Travis, listen. I'm on record on this podcast pointing out decisions I hate. I'm going to use it. Hate it, including not taking the beep points in the playoff game. I went on, much like some of you Duval divers out there. I'm sure you're going to have some sort of flashback in me just mentioning that. It's an A, man. It's an A.
Yeah.
Okay. Lifting this team up, proving beyond a reasonable doubt what I would call the Jameis Winston defense in Tampa. All you needed was a reasonable quarterback to be good, and they give you Baker Mayfield, okay?
Yeah.
Interesting enough with Liam Coen, I might add, right? See, there's the reason why I brought that in. To come in, take a quarterback that was allegedly a bust if you talk to anybody in the Houston metropolitan area, or Emmanuel Acho. And this group getting a 9-game performance, standing up to what could be arguably one of the toughest NFL coaches and telling him to take your name out your mouth, to rally this group and build a culture that was not supposed to be possible in Duval. Man, listen, he never looked like an intimidating figure, but now he's a respectable figure there in Duval, Travis.
Yeah. I mean, I ain't trying to bear the lead. Like, what we talking about? Like, if you have eyes, you know what this is. Like, we know how we feel about the roster. We've seen it. We see where we are. But we think the quarterback was generally around that B range, maybe even the high level B range. Tight ends are around the B range. The wide receivers are, I won't say in the cellar, because I think that's probably being not clear and a little bit disingenuous, but
they're
down
not
in the dumps early on, right? And the O-line is being about average. Then how in the world do you win 13 games? Oh, because the OC, whether you want to call that Liam Coen and the Grant Udinski combination of guys teaching these guys throughout the week, is RNA. That's how it happens. You pencil whip teams. You find ways to get guys open against the Denver Broncos and the Jets, teams that are playing you man coverage. You find a way to pencil whip these good defensive coordinators because you just have that ability. Yeah, man, that's what it is. Liam Coen, Grant Udinski, that combination of guys teaching and molding this offense to what they want it to look like is an absolute A. And I think they showed that through much of the second half of the season. I'm not even going to belabor that point.
For 4 wins to this playoff push. There you go. Simply put.
Yeah, that's it. So overall, we are looking at a Jacksonville Jaguars 2025 roster that not grading. Again, we graded general manager James Gladstone in the last podcast. But that's mostly talking about his self-scouting and his quick ability to get off of moves that didn't work, whether that be Trent Baalke retained players that didn't work and just kind of got off of it quickly, or guys he even brought in early, like De'Ami Brown, that don't work.
Johnson, those elements.
Fred Johnson, there you go. That was a quick one. Fred Johnson, and just moving off of those guys when he sees it doesn't work quickly. That was his grade of that part of the evaluation process. But just talking overall and what the team did, whether that's due to coaching but also the combination of factors, everything else, bro, It's a 13-win season, AFC South Championship, uh, 8 game winning streak. They started the season off 4-1. Like all across the board, the results say that's an A performance. Yes, they had their slumps. Yes, they had their imperfections. That was partially because of that non-nuanced, I guess I'll call it, evaluation of where they were to start this process off. Like you had guys on the field that shouldn't have probably been starting for you, like Tyson Campbell, that you immediately got off of. And you're trying to figure out what you got from the free agents that you signed, which that's a process. So I get it. Overall, man, yeah, it feels like if you grade them as a C, you're probably drunk. And if you told someone you're grading them as an A, it seems reasonable. The lowest you probably, we're talking A's or B's, absolutely. And
they lost the playoff game, A-.
That might be fair, honestly. I don't. You might think that's being harsh, but that could be fair. Like based on they fumbled the bag so bad in this situation, and I know they're looking at this landscape of this NFL playoffs and not been thinking, "Damn, we had this."
Yeah,
we had it. We were in the Super Bowl. Realistically, in the Super Bowl, with everything that happened, and all you do is just play the game that you know how to play, and it didn't happen. Not to bring that back, not to belabor that point, but yeah, man. So I still think it was an A season because of just how low the expectations were and how quickly you flipped it over. So that's kind of where I'm landing.
Yeah, no, I think that's a strong take. I don't think there's anything else that can be said about that. You could slide it right into there.
Is that where you're going?
Yeah, I made the joke about the A-, but let's say I even thought that was the case. We still got to average it out to an A, absolutely. Like, and by the way, I think the message we're sending here of the coach raising the quarterback to a point where he needed to be, utilizing the running backs like was hoped he would do in Tampa, along with the tight ends, making the O-line average, which this time last year they were clearly an F for me. And the receivers might be the only disappointing element here, right? And how much the receivers were asked to bail out Mac Jones. It still sounds funny to say.
Which is so funny because that was the Jaguars' strength heading into the season. And I was like, hey, that's the weakness of the team. It's like, wait, what?
A lot of people got hurt and underperformed, buddy. Facts of the case.
I mean, it was pretty much a Brian Thomas Jr. evaluation. Let's be real, though.
Brian, yeah, it was all on BTJ big and having big expectations and people thinking De'Ami Brown was going to be a lot more than he ended up being. But then came Jacoby Myers and Parker Washington becoming Parker Washington.
Freaking Washington. Parker Washington. Yeah.
Parker Washington.
Parker Washington. Yeah. You got it. Parker Washington or something. That sounds right.
It's hard. I know. It looks better written. I get you, buddy. So, yeah, that's our evaluations. Feel free to spam us if you haven't already in the comments about what you think about our grades. Of course, do all the things. Subscribe to us, YouTube channel, get all that. We're getting closer to 1,000, guys. Make that happen for us, please. The more you get us paid, the more stuff we could do for you in the future. Like, we're not leaving our families, but we would love to leave our day jobs and do this for you full time. Let's be clear.
Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. So overall, I mean, for anybody who's just wanting to recap, like at the end of the day, the Jaguars, we rate the Jaguars defense as the linebacker, special teams coordinator, and defensive coordinator as all A's. The defensive line and the performance of the general manager moving off of transactions quickly and decisively as B's. The defensive backcourt as a C. Overall, that's just that's safeties and cornerbacks included. If you don't like it, listen to the podcast, fight us, it's fine.
We did clear up though that there was an element that the safeties brought him down. Let's be fair.
Right, that's fair. And then on the offensive side of things, you got the offensive coordinator combination of Liam Coen and Grant Udinski, and both the overall performance of the roster just in 2025 as an A. Trevor Lawrence, the quarterback, and the Brenton Strange and the tight end group and the running back group all landing in the B range. Again, whether it's a B+, B-, whatever, B range. Offensive line at C and the wide receiver group at D, which was our only D for the entire roster in 2025, the wide receiver group. That was a hard one, but that's where we land.
Which feels, listen, everything we saw feels appropriate to how they got to 13 wins this past season. I like where we're at. I say so myself, but nonetheless. But yeah, let us know where you think we're getting it right or not. That's a whole thing. So, champion, with that in mind, tell the people where you can be found, my friend.
Well, I mean, you know where I can be found. You can find me on all the socials. So you can find me on all the socials. Travis D. Holmes. You can find my writing covering the Jacksonville Jaguars, BigCatCountry.com. And Travis D. Holmes. But no, forget about me. I don't care about me. I'm fine. If you're listening to me right now, please click that like button. First thing first. If you're listening to us on the audio side, please rate and review us. Help us out. I mean, it takes like 5 seconds to click all 5. Please, 5 stars. 5 out of 5. Yeah, that part. But yes, please rate us 5 out of 5 on all the socials. It helps us out tremendously. Helps us with this algorithm. Keep sharing it out there and getting us paid. And we like to be paid. That's always good. But yeah, and overall, this thing's growing. Like Kyle said, we're almost at 1,000 subscribers on the YouTube side of things. If you're on that side, please like and comment and keep engaging us, because these podcasts only get made because you guys ask for things and we're here to give it to you. So keep talking it up. Stay locked in this offseason, whether or not the Jaguars are playing this postseason, because that's what keeps this conversation going. And it is a conversation between us. We ain't talking at you. We're talking with you. Travis D. Holmes, Big Cat Country. Let them know where you can be found, sir.
Of course, I'm Kyle Nash, the student of the game. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as the student of the game. Check out my writings with the Black and Gold Banneret, as well as the Night Shift podcast covering UCF football and basketball. That schedule dropped. I'm sure we'll be talking about that real soon, so make sure you look out for that. And, of course, my work covering the Orlando Magic, but first and foremost covering your Jacksonville Jaguars here on the Duval Dive. So all of you in the comments, you Duval divers, thank you very much once again, all you Duval devout, for my personal champion, Travis D. Holmes. This is Kyle Nash. Until next time, everyone, class dismissed.